Old gardener Connor was the first to become her ally. He took her to see the moldy oak barrels in the cellar. The hoops around the barrels were cracked. The lady was just like this when she was young. He ran his hand over the barrels with grain, his voice tinged with nostalgia. She squeezed every penny until it screamed. We laughed at her back then, but now we know, without her, these barrels would have been thrown out long ago. The night before the final inspection, Ella discovered a missing page in the ledgers in the banquet hall, beneath the chandelier. The page recording the 1999 winery maintenance cost was gone, leaving only ragged edges, as if torn out. She raced to the archives, knocking over a candlestick in the corner. Flames licked at the curtains, but Samuel's reaction was faster than her scream. He smothered the fire with his coat, the wool scorching and curling at the edges. On purpose, he wiped soot from his face, his hands shaking. He was afraid of fire. When he was a child, his sister had almost burned down the study playing with matches, and he'd feared flames ever since. Ella grabbed the charred document, her fingertips pinching the corner. The 2001 winery maintenance costs were recorded under art conservation fees. Someone falsified the accounts to embezzle the money. Ash fell through her fingers, like an ancient curse that in the morning light. Margaret flipped through the bound reports. Her fingers paused at a red tab section marking a discrepancy. Why cut 3 stables? Converting them into goose houses will earn an extra €20,000 a year. Ella nodded toward the window, where workers were removing rotted railings, sawdust falling onto the grass. And your grandson hates horseback riding. He fell off a horse last time, and now he avoids horses. Keeping the stables would be a waste. Samuel choked on his black tea, his ears turning as red as tomatoes. That night, the castle lit all its candelabras. The candlelight turned the hallway into a golden river. As Ella walked up the red-carpeted spiral staircase, she noticed fresh roses placed at every turn. White roses, her favorite, their petals still dewy. Samuel waited for her on the terrace, a ring resting in his palm. The sapphire glowed as brightly as the gilding on the ledgers. Engraved inside the ring was a small number, 12.5 acres, the exact area of the estate Ella had calculated on her first day. Mother said. His voice was thick, his fingers trembling as he held the ring. You even counted the mouse holes in the cellar. Last time you mentioned there were 3, which would affect the oak barrel storage. Later, we found chewed barrels right there. A crash of breaking glass came from below, like the sound of ice cracking. Margaret stood in the shadow of the stairs, a cracked wine glass in her hand. Wine dripped down the stem. Congratulations, she held up the broken stem, a hint of a smile in her voice. The Parsons family finally has a mistress who can count. When Samuel clasped Ella's hand, she felt the callus on his ring finger, the same spot as that night in the car. But this time, the calculator ink from their palms finally marked the same ledger. Her fingers lingered on the engraved number inside the ring, which glimmered under the banquet hall chandeliers. Samuel was talking to a wine merchant, his bow tie casting a small shadow below his Adam's apple, serious and gentle, all at once. Madam, a waiter bent down to offer her a glass of champagne, the silver tray shining. Miss Liza has arrived. As Ella turned, her skirt brushing the Persian carpet, she saw the former street child now wearing a neat blazer and skirt. Her hair was combed smoothly, and a small pearl earring glinted at her earlobe. It was the 20th birthday gift Ella had given her. Only €200, but Liza's most precious possession. Did you bring the financial reports? Ella whispered. Liza nodded, her fingers white-knuckling a folder, as if nervous. The sound of Margaret tapping her wine glass echoed like a crisp abacus click, and the banquet hall fell silent. This year, the winery's profits have increased by 37%. Her gray-blue eyes swept across the room, finally settling on Ella. Thank you, my daughter-in-law. You sorted out the ledgers, found the discrepancies, and even brought in new business partners for the winery. Amidst the applause, Samuel's hand slipped around Ella's waist, his palm warm. Liar! A shrill woman's voice cut through the air like breaking glass. Camilla stormed in on 10-centimeter heels, her scarlet nails clutching a stack of papers. The pages trembled in her hand. She falsified the accounts. The papers scattered like snowflakes. Ella recognized them as the quarterly reports she'd signed the previous week. Her signature was there, but the depreciation expenses section had been circled in red. Samuel's muscles tensed instantly. He pulled Ella behind him, as if protecting a treasure. Cousin, you've had too much to drink. Go rest. I haven't had too much to drink. Camilla grabbed a sheet of paper and shoved it in the nearest guest's face, her nails almost piercing the page. Look at the depreciation expenses on page 3. Last year's repair costs were clearly €800,000, but she only recorded $500,000. She embezzled the remaining $300,000. Her pearl necklace slapped against her collarbone as she gesticulated wildly, jingling. Ella bent down to pick up the paper. Her fingertips felt the static from the altered ink. This wasn't the version she'd signed. She'd used blue ink. This was black, and the signature was a forgery. "I've never seen this version of the report," she said softly, but loudly enough for everyone to hear. The chandelier's light cast fine shadows under her eyelashes, like a small umbrella. "Of course you haven't." Camilla suddenly grabbed Ella's wrist, her nails digging into her skin, leaving crescent-shaped red marks. "You embezzled assets behind everyone's back. Even my cousin doesn't know. You're just trying to trick him into marrying you, so you can steal the Parsons family's fortune." The guest's murmurs buzzed in Ella's ears like ants. She saw Margaret's knuckles whitening around her wine glass, the champagne sloshing violently. "Mother!" Samuel stepped forward, placing himself between Ella and Camilla. "Ella would never do something like this. She's not that kind of person. We'll find out soon enough." Margaret set down her wine glass with a sound like a judge's gavel, cold and final. "Bring the audit report from the accounting firm." Liza suddenly pushed through the crowd, hugging a dark blue folder, its corners a little worn, the one she always used for ledgers. "This is the audit report we picked up from the accounting firm this afternoon." She opened the title page, the red official seal glowing brightly under the lights. "It has the firm's signature and stamp. It's legally valid." Camilla's laughter was like shattering glass, sharp and shrill. "What right does a little beggar have to touch the family ledgers? You couldn't even afford to eat back then, and now you dare meddle in the Parsons family's affairs." In March 2019, Liza's voice was clear, cutting through Camilla's laughter. She pointed to a line of numbers on the report. Miss Camilla embezzled €120,000 from the winery's procurement funds to buy luxury goods. In July 2021, she withdrew another €250,000 under the pretense of castle repairs. Actually, it was to pay off her second husband's gambling debts. She turned to the next page, revealing bank transfer records and receipts. "The accounting firm found all this. There's proof." Samuel snatched the documents, his brows furrowing deeper, his knuckles white. "Last year, you stopped Liza from applying to business school." He looked up, his eyes cold as a Dublin winter. "Was it because she caught you forging my signature to transfer the winery's shares to your name?" Camilla's lips trembled like flower petals in the wind, her face as pale as paper. "Cousin, I did it for the family. I just want to make the family richer." "For the family?" Ella suddenly picked up a photo from the waiter's tray, a Polaroid. In the picture, Camilla was swiping a card to buy a yacht, with the port of Cannes, France in the background. The date matched the day she'd withdrawn the repair funds. "Is this what you call for the family? Using the winery's money to buy a yacht and vacation in Cannes, while letting the castle's roof leak and the vineyard's drainage ditches clog?" Margaret's cane struck the carpet with a heavy thud, like a blow to Camilla's heart. "Call the police." Each word was icy, no hesitation. "Hand over the evidence of her embezzlement. Let them deal with her." Camilla suddenly collapsed to the floor, her red dress spreading like a pool of blood. One of her high heels fell off. I just want to be like her." She pointed at Ella with her painted fingernail, her voice breaking. "Why does she, a former accountant, get to marry my cousin and be the mistress of the Parsons family? Why does a little beggar like you get to go to college and manage the ledgers? It's not fair." Ella knelt down, wrinkling her nose at the overpowering perfume Camilla wore. "I gave you a chance." She pulled a checkbook from her handbag. The pen was a gift from Samuel, its silver barrel elegant. The scratch of the pen against paper was unusually clear, cutting through the quiet banquet hall. "Take this." Ella held out a check, which trembled slightly in the air. It was made out for €50,000. "This is the last time I'll help you. Stay away from Liza, and never set foot in the Parsons family again." Samuel's hand suddenly pressed down on her shoulder, his warmth seeping through her shirt. "Wait." He picked up a crumpled piece of paper from the floor, bank account details. "This Swiss account. I think I've seen it before." Camilla's face turned deathly pale. Ella saw beads of sweat break out on the back of her neck, glistening like oil in the light. "So that's it," Ella said softly, a hint of coldness in her voice. "You've been embezzling assets all along, transferring the winery's money to a Swiss account, planning to run away someday." Liza suddenly gasped, clutching her phone. The screen lit up. "This account, it's the foundation that stopped me from going to school." She handed the phone to Margaret, revealing a screenshot of an old email. The sender was Camilla, and the content instructed the foundation to reject Liza's scholarship application, with the reason, lowly background, unworthy of higher education. Margaret's cane suddenly barred Camilla's way, like a barrier. "Get out." Her voice carried the dignity of 400 years of the Parsons family, non-negotiable. "Or I'll personally have you sent to Dublin prison to reflect on what you've done." As the bodyguards dragged Camilla away, one of her red high heels fell off, its heel broken. Ella bent down to pick it up, noticing vineyard mud on the sole. the same mud she'd stepped in while supervising the drainage ditch repairs after the recent rains. Camilla must have been to the vineyard, but she'd told no one. Madam. Liza suddenly choked up, tears falling on her shirt and leaving small damp spots. Thank you. Thank you for giving me money to go to college. Thank you for believing in me. Ella tossed the high heel into a trash can. The metal bin echoed hollowly. Now, she turned to the guests, lifting her champagne glass. The liquid inside glowed like melted gold under the lights. Let's talk about the preparations for the Liza Foundation. This foundation will help children like Liza was, poor but eager to learn. Samuel and I will donate 100,000 euros as seed money. Samuel's fingers laced with hers, his warmth seeping through his gloves. Ella noticed a smudge of lipstick on his ring, probably from hugging a guest earlier. She couldn't help but laugh, wiping it off with her fingertip. Margaret suddenly cleared her throat, drawing everyone's attention. Almost forgot. She took a medal from a velvet box and pinned it to Ella's collar. The medal was gold, engraved with the Parsons family crest. This is a tradition for the mistresses of the Parsons family. Since the 18th century, every mistress has had one. The gold badge glinted in the light, same as the gilding on the ledgers. In the distance, a siren wailed, growing louder, then fading away. The police taking Camilla away. Ella looked out at the dark night, suddenly recalling Samuel's words on the motorway that rainy night. Kindness needs to go hand in hand with sense. Moonlight now fell on the newly planted saplings in the vineyard, their tender green shoots pushing through Ireland's damp soil. Like hope, struggling to grow. Liza's fingers tightened around the blue folder, her knuckles white. She could hear her heart pounding against her ribs, like the rattling of the potato chip can from years ago. The depreciation expenses on page 3. Her voice was clear as broken ice. The actual expenditure was indeed 800,000 euros. Camilla's red lips twisted into a triumphant smirk. Even as the police held her, she struggled. Did you hear that? She admitted it herself. She falsified the accounts. But the payment was made from Union Bank of Switzerland. Liza turned to the page marked with a fluorescent tab, revealing a bank transfer receipt. The recipient account belongs to a shell company, and the actual controller of that company is Camilla's lover. She glanced at Ella, who nodded slightly. Same look as when she'd handed her hot cocoa 10 years ago. Gentle, yet firm. Samuel grabbed the document, his suit sleeve brushing Liza's hand, cool to the touch. This IBAN code. His brows furrowed into a tight knot, then suddenly cleared. It's my uncle's yacht club account. Last year, my uncle said someone had anonymously transferred money to him for safekeeping. So it was you. It's a coincidence. Just a coincidence. Camilla's sharp nails tore the paper, and scraps fluttered to the carpet. What does a little beggar know about international transfers? Don't listen to her lies. Liza suddenly pulled out her phone. On the screen was a yellowed photo, a little girl huddled on a station bench, eating ice cream and laughing. Her matted braids held a rusty hairpin. It was Liza herself, years ago. Do you remember this? Her voice trembled, tears falling onto the screen. You said, slum rats don't deserve to go to school, and threw away my acceptance letter. Have you forgotten? A murmur swept through the hall. Margaret's cane struck the floor with a heavy thud. The old butler immediately brought over a laptop. The click of keys was like hail on glass, sharp and rapid. In March last year, Liza enlarged a bank transfer record, the numbers clear on the screen. Camilla transferred 650,000 euros in 5 installments. After each transfer, the winery's account balance decreased, but she covered it up by labeling the withdrawals as procurement fees and repair costs. The index finger she used to click the mouse had a faint scar from when she'd cut herself picking up scrap metal as a child, still visible. Ella suddenly let out a soft laugh. She pulled off her glove, revealing an ink stain on her fingertip from revising the report earlier. How interesting. These numbers match exactly the page I burned. She looked at Camilla, her eyes cold. Last time I found a missing page in the ledger, you tore it out, didn't you? You were afraid I'd discover your embezzlement. So you destroyed the evidence first. You're lying. I didn't. Camilla lunged at the computer. Her pearl necklace snapped, and the pearls rolled across the marble floor like scattered abacus beads, jingling. Samuel stepped in front of Liza, his bow tie askew. He looked a little disheveled, but resolute. Cousin, do you want me to pull up the estate's security footage? His voice was colder than the oak barrels in the cellar. The cameras caught you sneaking into the study last week, trying to steal the audit report. Should I play it for everyone? Liza tasted something metallic on her lips. She licked them, realizing she'd bitten her lip until it bled. The numbers on the screen blurred, like the rain that had soaked the ledgers that year. Breathe. Ella's hand suddenly rested on her shoulder. The scent of rose perfume overpowered the taste of blood, gentle. Remember what I taught you? Debits must equal credits. Find a balance, and you'll find the truth. Camilla grabbed a champagne flute and hurled it at the projection screen. The shattering glass was deafening. Liza heard her own calm voice. You used a €300,000 balance to buy this, didn't you? She enlarged a jewelry appraisal certificate on the screen, which read, Emerald brooch, value €300,000. The purchase date was the day after Camilla had withdrawn the repair funds. Margaret suddenly coughed violently, her face paling. The old butler hurried to hand her a handkerchief. A red stain bloomed instantly on the white linen, like a red plum blossom. Grandmother! Samuel rushed over, knocking over a high stool. The glass crashed to the floor and shattered. But Ella's eyes were fixed on Camilla's deathly pale face, noticing her right hand creeping toward her handbag, secretive, as if reaching for something. Look out! Liza lunged forward and snatched the crocodile skin handbag. The zipper scraped her forearm, drawing blood. A syringe rolled out, its transparent liquid glowing eerily blue in the light. It was insulin, but not the brand Margaret usually used. Gasps filled the hall. Ella picked up the syringe and sniffed it, frowning. Insulin? But the concentration is wrong. It's 50% lower than normal. You switched grandmother's medicine, didn't you? She suddenly remembered something, turning to Margaret. Have you been feeling dizzy lately? Unstable blood sugar. Old Gardener Connor burst in through the side door, his overalls stained with grape juice and mud. Madam, the new batch of medicine in the cellar has been switched. I just checked. All the backup insulin is low concentration, not the brand we ordered. Camilla stepped back, her high heels slipping on the pearls, nearly falling. Liza saw sweat soaking the back of her silk dress, leaving a dark stain, like a smudge. So that's the plan? Ella twirled the syringe between her fingers. The stainless steel needle glinted coldly. Switch her diabetes medicine to make her disoriented, so you can forge her signature and embezzle assets. You've been plotting this all along. Samuel crushed a champagne flute in his hand. Shards of glass dug into his palm, and blood mixed with red wine, dripping onto the carpet like melted red wax. Call the police. Each word was ground out between his teeth, full of rage. Call them now. Charge her with assault causing bodily harm and embezzlement. Camilla suddenly knelt down, her mascara streaming down her face like black tears, a mess. Cousin, I did it for the family. I just want to take back what's mine. My father was a Parsons too. I have the right to inherit. Yours. Margaret laughed bitterly into her handkerchief, her coughing subsiding. Your father stole the family's oil paintings and was kicked out of the Parsons family. Have you forgotten? What you're doing now is exactly what he did, stealing from the Parsons family. Liza touched her bleeding arm, the blood warm and sticky. She suddenly remembered that snowy night, when Ella had covered her own bleeding arm to pull Liza away from a drunkard's harassment. Ella had lost a lot of blood that day, but still walked Liza home and gave her a thick coat. That's enough. Ella stopped Samuel from dialing the phone, her voice calm. Give her 10 minutes to leave Ireland. Never come back. She bent down, picked up a pearl, and placed it in Camilla's trembling palm. The pearl was cold. This is for your ticket. It's enough to buy a flight to France. Camilla suddenly let out a hysterical laugh, as if insane. Pretending to be a saint? You're just an accountant. You're just lucky you married my cousin. Without the Parsons family, you're nothing. I'm an accountant, Ella replied calmly, winking at Liza, a smile in her eyes. But accountants can tell who's lying, who's stealing, and what's right from wrong. Isn't that true, Liza? Liza suddenly noticed the projector was still on. In the corner of the screen were small words, Auditor, Liza Crawford. The ink was fresh. Her throat tightened, remembering Samuel handing her a pen that morning, saying, Write neatly, new financial director. Starting today, you're the winery's financial director. In the distance, an engine roared as Camilla's car drove away. As Camilla's red dress disappeared down the spiral staircase, Liza heard a strange sound from the vineyard, like the thud of a shovel digging into dirt. Probably the workers repairing the drainage ditches. Liza's ears picked up the fading engine noise, but the shovel sound from the vineyard grew clearer. She pressed her hand to her bleeding arm, noticing Ella staring at the blood seeping through her shirt cuff, concern in her eyes. Connor! Ella suddenly raised her voice, calling toward the door. Bring that bottle of medical brandy from the cellar, and some gauze. Liza's hurt. Her fingers brushed gently over Liza's wound. Lighter than a grape leaf, no strength at all. Margaret coughed in her handkerchief, the ice in her eyes melting a little. This girl, she's just like you were back then, decisive and careful, she said to Samuel, a hint of nostalgia in her voice. Your mother was the same. When someone got hurt, she worried more than if she'd been hurt herself. Shards of the champagne flute Samuel had crushed were still embedded in the carpet. He bent down to pick one up, cutting his fingertip, but didn't notice. Mother, you knew the medicine had been switched all along, didn't you? You were testing Ella to see if she'd find the truth. The medicine tasted wrong 2 weeks ago. Margaret suddenly grabbed Ella's wrist, her palm unnaturally hot. but I wanted to see if you could count to 3, if you'd stay calm and find evidence after discovering the discrepancy, instead of accusing people like a madwoman. Ella felt the warmth of the old lady's palm, suddenly feeling sorry for her. For years, she'd supported the family alone. Surely it had been hard. She turned to the butler, her voice more urgent than that night on the motorway. "Call a doctor, hurry. The old lady's coughing up blood. She needs a checkup right away." Liza's white shirt was stained light red by the brandy. The cold liquid made her flinch. As she watched Ella bandage her arms skillfully, her movements gentle to avoid hurting her, she suddenly said, "That 300,000 euros. You used it to buy the emerald brooch. I saw it in Camilla's closet. She wore it to a banquet once." "I know." Ella didn't stop tying the bandage. Her fingertips made a neat knot. "I saw it on her second husband's mistress's neck. I was on a business trip to Paris last time. I thought it looked familiar, but now I know. It was bought with the winery's money." Samuel looked up sharply, surprise in his eyes. "So you deliberately said nothing, waiting for her to expose herself?" Ella winked at Liza. The chandelier cast fine shadows under her eyelashes. "If she stole 300,000 euros, let her spend 300,000 euros on evidence. The brooch has the winery's logo. It was custom made back then. Find a brooch, and you prove she stole the money." Margaret suddenly laughed, her cough dislodging the pearl hairnet from her head. Pearls scattered across the carpet, like stars. "Now I believe you can manage the estate," she said, sliding a jade ring from her finger and slipping it onto Ella's. It was far too big. Ella wiggled her finger, and the ring nearly fell off. "This was my wedding ring. Now it's yours. It's a little big, but we can have it resized later." "Madam, Ella started to refuse, but Margaret had already collapsed back into her armchair, her face paler. When the doctor rushed in, she heard Margaret whisper, "Call me mother. From now on, you're my daughter." Samuel's hand rested on Ella's shoulder, the warmth of his silk suit seeping through her dress. Liza noticed blood on his ring finger, which strangely matched the crack in Ella's jade ring, as if they were made for each other. "About the foundation," Liza began, but old gardener Connor pushed through, his overalls covered in fresh mud, excitement on his face. "We found an iron box in the vineyard, under the old oak barrel. There's a family crest on it." Ella lifted her dress and ran outside. Samuel's leather shoes slipped on the cobblestones, nearly making him fall. By moonlight, the workers gathered around a hole, in which lay a rusted biscuit tin. The edge still had a wine label stuck to it, a 1921 whiskey label, yellowed with age. "It's my great-grandfather's." Samuel wiped the mud off the lid with his tie, revealing a gilded letter P. His eyes lit up. The legend said he buried a treasure. "It's real. It's ledgers," Ella and Margaret said in unison. The old lady was wheeled over, a blanket embroidered with grapevines draped over her knees, her own handiwork. "Your great-grandfather made a legal whiskey back then. He used the money to fund the independence movement. He buried the ledgers to hide them from the British." The iron box creaked open, a harsh, rusty sound. Rust flakes fell to the ground. The handwriting on the yellowed pages was still clear. 1921. Income from illegal whiskey, £5,000. Used to buy weapons and medicine for the Independence Army. Several signatures were scrawled below. Leaders of the independence movement back then. Margaret's fingers brushed one of the names, nostalgia in her eyes. "So that's why?" Camilla's grandfather reported the underground wine cellar back then. "He wanted to steal this money, but he never found it. Your great-grandfather kicked him out of the family." The night wind ruffled Ella's hair cool. She suddenly understood why Margaret always stayed in her study until midnight. Those smoke-stained ledgers held more than numbers. They held the family's history, its backbone, something that couldn't be lost. "Here." Margaret pulled out a deed and handed it to Liza. The edges were a little worn, but it was flat. "Louisburg Winery. I managed it when I was young. Now it's yours. We'll transfer ownership tomorrow. You understand ledgers, and you understand wine better than I do." Tears fell from Liza's eyes onto the parchment, blurring the 200-year-old ink. "I can't. It's too valuable." "You can." Ella pressed her trembling hand. Her palm was warm. "The income and expense analysis in your wine tasting notes is 10 times better than mine was back then. You know which grapes sell for a high price and how to control costs. I trust you with this winery." Samuel suddenly dropped to one knee. His old leather shoes sank into the mud, and his knee was covered in dirt, but he didn't care. "I've kept a secret from you for 10 years, he said, opening the bottom of the iron box to reveal a yellowed photo. In it, a little girl with matted braids ate ice cream on a station bench, laughing. In the background was a blurry boy's figure. It was Samuel as a child. "That day, I followed you. I watched you share your ice cream with a stray dog. Watched you help your father pick up his cardboard sign. I thought, this little girl is so kind. I have to protect her someday." Ella laughed, tears streaming down her face. The sound startled nightingales in the grapevines. Their black wings fluttered away. She pulled out her checkbook, wrote a number, and slipped it into Liza's pocket. This is the seed money for the Liza Foundation, 500,000 euros. From now on, we'll set aside 10% of the winery's profits each year for the foundation. Let more children like you get the chance to go to school and eat their fill. Margaret raised her champagne glass with a cough. The liquid inside glowed like melted gold in the moonlight. To the mistress of the house. To the future of the Parsons family. In the distance, engines roared. Ella counted the approaching headlights. 3 in total. Samuel's hand tightened around the edge of the iron box. The metal left a red mark on his palm. Reporters? His voice was tight. Grapevine shadows wove a fine net over his face. He was afraid they'd write nonsense, afraid Ella would be bothered. Their media invited by the foundation. Ella patted his hand, feeling the dampness of his palm. I asked them to cover the foundation's launch, to let more people know and attract more donations. Don't worry, I told them to only report on the foundation, not the family. Liza suddenly ran over, her white shirt sleeves rolled up to her elbows, revealing the bandaged wound, still a little muddy. The kids are here. They got lost in the rose garden. Connor's bringing them over. Samuel paused, bending down to pick up the photo. Confusion filled his eyes. What kids? Scholarship finalists from the slum schools. 10 of them, all top in math and science. Ella lifted her dress and walked west, her high heels sinking into the soft mud, making it hard to walk. You said kindness needs to go hand in hand with sense. These kids have talent. Give them a chance, and they'll change their fate. That's the smartest kind of kindness, isn't it? Samuel followed behind her, nodding and laughing, his eyes full of tenderness. Yes, you're right. Under the grape arbor stood over a dozen children. The youngest was only 6, poking Connor's old pocket watch with a dirty finger. The watch hands ticked. Don't touch that, the gardener snapped, but pulled a handful of raisins from his pocket and stuffed them into the child's hand, a smile hiding at the corner of his mouth. This is Madame Ella, the founder of the foundation. Liza's voice was an octave higher than usual, matching the rhythm of the potato chip kin from years ago. Nervous, yet proud. She'll pay for the hardest working kids' college tuition and cover their living expenses too. A little girl in a faded red dress suddenly raised her hand. A red string tied her braids, and she was missing a front tooth, making her lisp. Are you really a countess? My mom says countesses wear pretty dresses and diamond necklaces. Ella knelt down to meet her eyes, warmth in her gaze. I'd rather people call me an accountant. Accountants help people keep track of money and help people make their dreams come true. Just as great as a countess, right? She felt the calculator in her skirt pocket. The metal buttons glinted faintly in the moonlight. Her most precious possession, not diamonds, but a tool to solve problems. Samuel's laughter came from behind, loud and clear. When he knelt down, his old suit pants creaked. Comical. Kids, do you know how grapes do math? He picked a bunch of purple grapes from the vine, holding them in his palm. Each grape is a number from nature. 10 grapes make 1 drop of wine. 100 drops make 1 bottle. 10 bottles sell for 100 euros. See? Numbers are everywhere in life. Learn math well, and you can calculate your own future. Liza nudged Ella's elbow, her voice soft. The curly-haired boy in the 3rd row is Timothy. He's the All-Ireland math competition champion. His dad's a miner, his mom's sick. They're poor, but he never gave up studying. Pride colored her voice, like showing off a new grape variety she'd grown. Just like you were. Ella squeezed her hand, noticing the old chilblain scars had faded, leaving only faint marks. You studied on your own at the station, looked up information in the library. You never gave up. That's why you're here now. Moonlight fell on the children's upturned faces, softening their dirty cheeks. Lovely. The sound of Margaret's wheelchair rolling over the gravel path startled the nightingales. The old lady was wrapped in a wool shawl, looking stern. All this noise in the middle of the night. The kids should be asleep. But Ella saw her silently count the children, a smile hiding at the corner of her mouth. Grandma. The little girl in the red dress suddenly ran to the wheelchair, her small hand grabbing Margaret's skirt. Can your necklace do math? The pearls are like abacus beads, one by one. Samuel tensed, grabbing the wheelchair armrest, afraid the child would startle his mother. But he heard his mother's hoarse laugh. Little rascal. This was your great-great-grandmother's dowry. 56 pearls in total. Count them and see if I'm right. She unclasped the necklace and handed it to the child, warmth in her eyes. Ella watched 23 small heads huddled together, counting the pearls. She suddenly thought of the morning meetings in the office. Back then, she'd faced nothing but cold numbers. Now, she faced lively children, a warm family, a meaningful life. Samuel's arms slipped around her waist, his breath carrying the scent of brandy. Fresh. Do you regret it? Quitting accounting to come here, except for the time your mother faked being sick. Ella leaned on his shoulder, feeling his heartbeat through his suit, strong. She knew the medicine had been switched, but pretended not to, just to worry me. I haven't forgotten that. Samuel nodded, laughing, his chin brushing her hair. No more pretending. Whatever happens, we'll face it together. Liza suddenly raised her voice, excitement in her tone. The winner is Timothy Crawford. The curly-haired boy stood frozen in the applause, still clutching a scrap of paper covered in equations, his handwriting messy, but earnest. Wait. Ella opened her checkbook. Her pen hovered over the paper, the ink leaving a small blot. Crawford? Is your brother also surnamed Crawford? He's my brother. Liza's voice was as soft as rustling grape leaves, tinged with tears. I found him in an orphanage last year. He was abandoned when he was born. I looked for him for 15 years. Her fingers unconsciously touched her arm bandage. Where a trickle of fresh blood seeped through, Samuel's pocket watch fell to the ground, its glass face cracking into a spiderweb. As he bent down to pick it up, Ella saw a scar on the back of his neck, exactly like the one on Liza's arm. It was from a fire when he was a child. They'd known each other all along, but forgotten. So that day at the station, Ella's voice caught in her throat, tears spilling down. Fate had been destined all along, not a coincidence. In the photo, the little girl with matted braids ate ice cream, and the boy in the background watched her, warmth in his eyes. That was the start of their story. Margaret suddenly coughed. The children passed the pearl necklace around, laughing. Enough, she said hoarsely, but there was a smile in her voice. Everyone go to the cellar for juice. Connor, bake some cookies. The kids must be hungry. As the wheelchair rolled toward the hall, Ella saw her wipe the corner of her eye. Happy tears. The moonlight grew brighter, turning the vineyard into a silver sea. Samuel ran his finger over the cracked pocket watch, his voice soft. I looked for her for 15 years. Every time I saw a girl who looked like her, I couldn't help but stare. But I was afraid to approach her, afraid she'd forgotten me. The metal was cold in his palm, yet warm. Tears fell from Liza's eyes onto the iron box, splashing small droplets. Cousin, her trembling finger touched the yellowed photo. The boy in the picture looked exactly like Samuel, just younger, eye in the distance. The children's laughter woke the bats in the arbor. Their black wings fluttered past the moonlight. Ella suddenly laughed, her voice clear. No wonder you always left a correction column in your ledgers. You knew all along. Life isn't set in stone. There's always a chance to correct mistakes, always a chance to meet again. She touched Samuel's wrist, his palm warm. Blood is the most complicated debit-credit relationship. What's owed will always be repaid. What's lost will always be found. Connor walked past, carrying the sleeping little girl in the red dress. His overalls were stained with grape juice and mud, a mess. Madam, this little rascal bit me. Said I gave her too few raisins. He complained, but his eyes were warm as he held the child carefully. Afraid to wake her, Margaret's wheelchair had turned back. The old lady looked at the scene before her, contentment in her eyes. It's a Parsons family tradition, she suddenly said, her voice solemn. Bastards have the right to inherit too. Liza, you and your brother are Parsons now. This is your home. Moonlight fell on her wrinkled face, like the castle's weathered walls. Solemn yet gentle, Samuel's hand suddenly rested on Liza's shoulder, warm. Welcome home, cousin, he said, his voice thick. It was a sentence he'd hidden in his throat for half his life. Finally spoken. Ella watched the ink on the check dry. The number was 500,000 euros, seed money for the foundation. In the distance, the scholarship-winning boy used a stick to write equations in the dirt. Moonlight stretched his shadow long. Like an endless line of numbers, a path to the future. Samuel's hand slipped into hers, his callous palm brushing her skin, ticklish, yet warm. Ella knew their story was only just beginning. Like the young saplings in a vineyard, it would grow slowly and bear sweet fruit.